Hey, good evening, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter Live, as well as our other streaming channels. Saturday night, me and my buddy just gonna sit here and talk like we usually talk on the phone about the NFL draft. A couple weeks ago, in the NFL landscape of things, the NFL approved 150 players for what they call their medical check, their medical background check, and it's interesting that a lot of the medical, because of the HIPAA laws, nobody knows who has red flags or not. So your team that you root for may red flag a guy and be like, you know what, we taking him totally off our board. I know this happened with one of Dwayne's favorite players last year from his college team because of a heart issue that they found. So we see how he plummeted in the draft, and he was a really good player even when he did play. And it's
Right.
interesting that his draft stock went down. Talking about Hayden Maurice Hurst, right, Dwayne?
Maurice. Yeah. Maurice Hurst. Go blue. Y'all know I'm partial.
So what's
I
going on, Wayne?
man, nothing. Excited about the draft come and can't wait till it get there because these 4 and 3 letter networks, they just, it's always surprising to me, right? You have these players and their game tape is the same as it was in December, but yet they rise and fall. Like, I get all the individual workouts, but for me, I want to see what you do on the film. I don't want to see what you do in a shirt and t-shirt,
Yeah,
shorts and t-shirt rather. I don't want to. It's important, but what's more important to me is what do you do on the field, and that's why you get these guys that go to in the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh round, and you're like, oh my God, how did this guy drop to the because they don't look good with the shirt and the t-shirt, the t-shirt and shorts, and it happens all the time, man. So, you know, and some of these guys are hypocrites. You'll have some of these analysts talk about Justin Fields and they'll run with the fact that somebody said he's not the first one in, last one out type of guy. He's this, he's that. But then you'll have Trevor Lawrence, daddy, say something to Sports Illustrated like almost along the lines that my son ain't just going to be going all crazy just to win the Super Bowl. And nobody says nothing about that. They don't view that as a negative. You understand what I'm saying?
it's kind of funny because it's like football has always tried to shield itself with the shield, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
shield itself from the social issues like we always talk about with what's going on, and you still see some of the covert. You don't see it more overt. You see like a covert racial agenda.
Yeah.
Definitely when you talk about the situation with Justin Fields, because like you said, who has proven outside of Lawrence, who has proven on a big stage in big games more than him? I mean, how can you really rate uh the other two quarterbacks higher than Justin Fields?
I don't see
And
it.
and
I
even to the point with Mac Jones, you see that. Well, let's get to Trevor Lawrence. You hear Trevor Lawrence father make the statement, and that I know he's not your favorite coach, but then you know how serious and how driven Urban Meyer is. So it makes you wonder, like, listen, this could not be a good match
Yeah,
because Urban Meyer, literally, from what we seen in the past, he's gonna work himself till he gets sick.
till he gets sick.
I mean, he's a couple years. Most people think Urban Meyer's an old man, but Urban Meyer's only a couple years older than me and you.
Right.
He's not an older guy,
Oh man.
but he's going to be one of them guys that's probably going to sleep at the facility, and then him thinking that he's got a leader, and we know Urban Meyer, even though he'll adjust to the program probably, his quarterbacks, he got a quick hook. I
Yeah, he
mean, a
do.
lot of people don't know that, the first year Tebow got there, Leak was there in Florida, and Leak was good. Leak could have
Leak
did
was
it,
really good.
So it's an interesting thing what goes on. I know. I was thinking about Mac Jones, and I was thinking about everybody trying to say that Mac Jones doesn't fit Shanahan's system, and I find it funny that were they saying that when Mike Shanahan drafted Kirk Cousins, that Kirk Cousins didn't fit his father's system? Was they saying
Right.
that when Jimmy G got there? I just find it interesting how obviously the Shanahan Kyle put it out there that he liked the Mac Jones, and I think Justin Fields is a better quarterback. But if this man thinks that Mac Jones could run his offense the way that he wants his offense ran, then I guess it's Mac Jones. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't, you know, I it's funny, Dwayne. We talked about it during the week that the NFL draft is considered definitely now is considered the good lies. Everybody's lying to each other about what they want to do, and it's like crazy because you got five quarterbacks that may get drafted in the first round, and the chances of five of them succeeding is like it's not
It's
gonna
tough.
happen.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna
Listen,
happen.
again, we hate to do it. We know it's a lot of years. But if you look back at that 1999 draft, first three picks, only only one of them made it. You
Yeah,
know, only one
yeah,
of them made it.
yeah. So we was
Hilly
talking about
Smith ain't make it. Tim Couch ain't make it. You see what I'm saying? These is top five picks.
and the crazy thing about the Tim Couch thing in Cleveland, what most people don't know is they had a good young team. Good
Mhm.
Butch Davis was their coach. I mean, he had all the tools to basically quote unquote make
Everything was
it,
there for him to succeed. Yeah.
but it's just he just didn't succeed. And it's like we were talking before the show about the thing with Caleb Farley. 3 weeks ago, Caleb Farley had surgery on his back.
Yeah.
Then 2 weeks ago, well, about a month ago, he had surgery on his back. Then 2 weeks ago, when they had the medical stuff in Indianapolis, they said he was good to go. Like,
Yeah. He got all
what's
green lights. I found that very hard to believe, man. I mean, I know they only prepared a portion of a herniated disc. Um, so it's like I don't know how they green light, giving them a green light. I would have a little pause. Now listen, he's a first round talent, and by some experts, I don't want to say most, some say he's the best corner prospect in this draft, but this is not the first time he had back injuries. He had back
yeah,
injuries throughout his college, and now to have surgery, and the draft is here, and they're saying he's going to be ready for training camp. But that's if there's no setbacks.
yeah. Yes, it's crazy because I thought about him, and thinking about Caleb Farley, I got to think about my guy Drew Rosenhaus.
Mhm.
Um, Knowing what he did for Willie McGinnis, the story is well known. When Willie McGinnis had tore his ACL, um, he promised Willie McGinnis that he would get not Willie McGinnis, William McGahee,
Willis
that,
McGahee, yep.
that he would get him drafted in the first round. So when he first started slipping in the draft and went right before he got to Buffalo, what Drew Rosenhaus had did was he called him on the phone, knowing the cameras was on Willis McGahee. Drew Rosenhaus called him on the phone and gave the appearance that teams was calling him.
Calling him.
And Buffalo jumped on it and seized at the moment and drafted him.
Hey, that was what you call gamesmanship. It was genius too, because it worked.
I mean, it's crazy how that whole process is about manipulation, selling your
Heck yeah.
guy,
Heck
um,
yeah.
agents.
We'd do it too if we could get away with it.
Yeah,
You know? True.
and even when Adam Schefter from the Four Letter Network, when he said the statement about Mac Jones, people was like, "Where's he getting this from?" But most people didn't know that Adam Schefter is real close with the Shanahans,
Yeah, but
and
usually I'm with Shefty. I like his reporting. But on this one, I found it to be very odd that he took such offense when people questioned him on this one. Like, you would have thought somebody smacked him in his face or something. He took that much offense. I was like, what is. Listen, who knows who's right? Who knows who's wrong? But in 2 weeks' time, we'll know for sure.
let me ask you a question: do you think that because Robert Sala and is running the Jets with Johnson's Jets, um, that the 49ers is trying to play gamesmanship with the Jets? Because I don't understand why. Because the Jets basically got anybody they want outside of Lawrence. If if Jacksonville chooses to pick Lawrence, now if Jacksonville don't pick Lawrence, which we basically everybody said it's a foregone conclusion, that would shake the draft up from the beginning.
Yeah, it would. I don't see it happening. You know, I think the draft really starts with the third pick. I see a lot of experts saying it starts with the fourth pick. Something in me doesn't tell me that the 49ers are totally locked in on Mac Jones. I kind of get a feeling that that's like some type of smoke screen. Um, but if I'm Atlanta, like, Kyle Pitts is a major weapon. But if I'm Atlanta and I look at the quarterback prospects for the class of 2022, and I look at these quarterbacks in 2021, and I look at Matt Ryan's age, I may have to pull the trigger this year, even if
I'm
that quarterback has to sit behind Matt Ryan.
what I didn't understand about the Atlanta thing, and we know who we like in the. It's funny that the guy that you like in as the quarterback, it's been real quiet on your boy Trey Lance, and I thought that the interesting thing about Atlanta is they could probably trade down a couple picks
They could.
and get more picks and still get Trey Lance. So I think that's the way. Me personally, I think that's the way Atlanta should go. Um, I think the Kyle Pitts thing is so interesting because he's like the can't miss guy, and it's so crazy with him being the can't miss guy that you even have teams that clearly need offensive lineman help that is willing to give up two guys who most experts say could be gold jacket recipients in 12
True.
years.
True.
So I think that's interesting that you're so enamored with a skill position player that you'll give up the opportunity to draft Penny Sewell or Rashawn Slater. I think that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And circling back to Caleb Farley, it's gonna be very interesting to see if teams take a gamble in the first round on a guy with a medical. Generally, it
Yeah,
doesn't happen.
yeah. It's funny, Dwayne. It's like that's the known medical. It's so many players that you know may have like we seen with in the NBA where Lamarcus Aldridge had to retire because of a heart issue.
Mm,
It's so many players that this stuff happened to, and you were just when you opened up, you were talking about how like the tape has not changed
mm.
since December for most of these players, and for the most part, how can somebody slip in the draft?
I don't.
You
That's what I'm saying, man. Just because these insiders ain't getting the right information. And who
Yeah,
determines, now that we say that, who determines that a player is quote unquote slipping in the draft?
yeah, and it
Who
hasn't
who
happened yet.
determines it?
Yeah,
Who determines it? The experts,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
because you don't know everybody's draft boards. Every year, these GMs and team presidents and owners, they all think they're the smartest people on draft day. Um, I will say this. If Caleb Farley doesn't go in the first round and he there at 44, I want my team to go get him.
yeah. I mean, the team that you root for, as well as myself, he our guy Will McClay, he said that the medicals don't affect how they build their draft board. He said the medicals don't change, and I find that interesting because
That
you'll
is
hear a lot of personnel guys that be like medicals will straight scare you off. I know that two players that we watched in recent years, Jalen Smith and Miles Jack. I know people were saying about their medicals that both of them could either play one season or 12 seasons. Basically, what you call has the drop foot. Jalen Smith has a drop foot permanently from his knee situation, and I think Miles Jack has a degenerative knee.
hmm
So it's interesting that
It
you
is.
know,
And it's funny, right? Because there's a former cowboy that fell in the draft, Ron Leary, because they said he wouldn't last. And he had a very good NFL career.
yeah,
And never had an issue with what they said he had.
no,
And they
no,
said he had a degenerative kneecap.
no, never had an issue.
And he could be playing if a team really gave him a chance, he could start and play today
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in the NFL. So
Yeah.
some
Go ahead.
I saw something and I felt bad and I laughed. But outside the lines on ESPN, Jeremy Schaap, just to give him the credit for it, he did a segment on this week outside the lines on the New York Jets and their draft picks. And as I was watching it, I said, oh my God, they've missed a lot at the top of draft. Like, they missed a lot at the
All
top
the way back to
of
when we were
draft.
kids with Blair Thomas, right?
They missed a lot, man. Jeff Lagerman, when the crowd booed him. Vernon Golston turned out to be a bust. Blair Thomas, bust.
And that's the funniest thing about the Vernon Golston thing is that he started, and what's the kid? Clay Matthews didn't start. So and Clay Matthews is probably a Hall of Famer. Arguably,
Yeah,
probably gonna go to the Hall of Fame, and he didn't even start in college. He basically was a rotational guy,
crazy.
and Vernon Golston was a problem.
Yeah, it's crazy. So every year you get a red flag with a kid with a medical, and then the story becomes, where's he gonna be drafted? I put the hat on you. I put the GM hat on you. How do you feel about someone with a medical? Would you touch him in the first round?
Well, yeah,
You would.
it depends on what type of kid he is. I mean, I hate to say it like this. I wouldn't take the medical and the character issue. The kid that I like out of Kentucky, who
We both
who
like.
you told me about, he's very intriguing, and I really try to be very very careful when they talk about a young kid character. I think it's kind of funny when those of us of a certain age start talking about how 20 year olds and 21 year olds act.
Like we
I
was
think
never that age.
Yeah, I think we need to be very careful of being hypocritical. I mean, some of the issues with these kids are their kids. Like, not to go away too far from the subject.
No,
Me and
we
you
was.
had discussed about 4 months ago about the thing with Michael Parsons.
Yeah.
Michael Parsons has some red flags, but the issue that nobody wants to say, even the four-letter networks, is the issue is Michael Parsons was caught in a hazing incident,
Mm-hmm.
and basically they were hazing kids in Penn State, and they're
Yeah,
trying to keep it hush hush because Penn State been up under so much scrutiny.
because remember they had that kid that was the non-athlete that was
Yeah,
getting hazed and died up
yeah,
there from Jersey.
yeah. So back to the kid in Kentucky. When I talked to you about him, you said he could play corner and safety. So then when I looked at some stuff that the way he plays, I don't want to go out on a limb here, but Dwayne, he might be the closest thing we've seen since Patrick Ramsey.
Yeah, he's the real deal.
I mean,
But his off the field, there's some concerns there, red flags, and I don't know. Like there was red flags on Pac-Man Jones. Some of it came to pass, some of it didn't because he had a very long career. People
yeah,
don't think Pac-Man Jones played in the league for a long time, man.
yeah. So certain teams will take those quote unquote, you know, red
Well,
flag
yeah,
players and
like did the Cowboys do the wrong thing when they took Van Der Esch in the first round, knowing that he had some neck injuries in college, and now the neck injury is starting to affect him in the NFL where he's not getting on the field. You know,
yeah, I think it's that's a and that goes back to an interesting thing. Like did they knew the medical issue, you drafted him anyway, and now that same medical issue has you questioning whether you want to give this kid his 5th year option.
but listen, anybody that knows me and knows I'm a Cowboy fan knows that I love Sean Lee. I think Sean Lee is great. He knows how to be a leader. He knows all that. But he can't help my team when half the time he on the sideline with sweatpants on and a polo shirt. Um,
And it's like
and this league,
he's still contemplating whether he wants to retire or finish playing. And it's
would
crazy
you
because I think the team left the door open for him.
would you say to me earlier today? You had a nice little quote
Oh,
about
the GMs got the GMs in the NFL got a phrase. You can't keep a job while you're in the tub.
that's it.
You in that trainer's tub, you can't keep your job.
Can't keep your job. So Caleb Farley, eh, I'm not sure who his agent is,
You know
but
who his agent is. It's Drew.
it's Drew. But for that kid to opt out due to COVID, why wasn't that surgery done during the season? He wasn't playing anyway.
Yeah,
I don't understand why they waited so late for that kid to have
yeah,
this procedure. He did not play college football in 2020. He didn't play. He opted out.
yeah. Yeah, it's a weird thing. I
Yeah,
mean, and then Dwayne, you coached, and you still coach. You got your ear to the coaching scene, closer to anybody that I know. The only thing that can change you from playing football or getting on the field is playing football. That's the
yeah.
only thing that helps you is playing football. And he has basically been away from the game. Like, is he better than Newsom? Is he better than Molden? I mean, we could sit and say he's got these physical traits
Yeah.
because he's a hell of an athlete, but he hasn't been on the field.
He hasn't been. You got to be in the. You can't be in the trainer's room. Only
Yeah,
time you should be in the trainer's room is pregame when you getting taped up.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
I find it interesting, even to the point where they were even talking about Leatherwood, how he's quote unquote a second round guy, and they saying because of his injury history. And I'm like, injury history? He's playing all these big games.
Yeah. For years. So I don't
So,
know, man.
Dwayne, I'm gonna ask you: do you give credence to a team or players? And I know that as a Cowboy fan, they basically, or the word has always been Sertan, and everything is the perfect fit. Do you think because Sertan has played in at Alabama in the SEC in these big games. Do you think that that's a plus?
I do, because it's like Dak Prescott said one time, and they were like, "Oh my God, you're a fourth round draft pick, and you're playing in Jerry's world, and it's over 100,000 people in the stand." He was like, "I played in games in college where there's over 100,000 people in the." So even though it was the NFL, the stage wasn't too big for Dak Prescott because he played in the SEC. He went to LSU to compete. He went to Auburn. He went against Alabama. He went against these teams in college, so that when you go to these NFL games, he didn't feel that pressure. And for some kids, they do. You know, that's why you have certain GMs that won't touch kids from smaller colleges. They only want the Power Five kids, the SEC kids, the Big Ten kids, Big 12 kids, Pac 12 kids. It's what they want. ACC kids. I mean, you go down to Louisiana, Baton Rouge, and you play for LSU, and with the crowd on the Saturday night, sometimes they get waves as if it's a damn earthquake. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Basically, if you right now, if you're a defensive back and you playing for LSU, you're considered good just to get on the field. They basically, I know that they got some receivers in the NFL lately, but basically LSU, for nobody that don't know, who was it, Dwayne? It was the LSU guys and the Florida State guys that was saying who got the best DBs, which one
yeah,
is Duke University.
DBU. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
find it.
So,
I find it interesting how if you follow organizations, you see how they draft. I mean, a lot of times we will sit and say, as fans, I want this guy, I want that guy, and not realizing that your organization has certain traits
mhm.
and ways that they evaluate talent. And if you really follow your team, you'll know that your team follows these traits. The Cowboys have this thing with Boise State, um,
Yes, they do.
getting guys from Boise State.
And what's the other thing about the Cowboys that'll drive us crazy?
They
And free
don't, they don't,
agency, they
they
re-signing
don't, they
their
don't.
home.
Yeah, they don't. They believe in re-signing, which is interesting because this year they signed the most free agents they ever signed, and they only spent $17 million in
Right.
signing 10 players. And
And
like,
now Aldon Smith gets signed by the Seahawks, and the Cowboys is like, go out there for Seattle and get 10 sacks. Count me.
yeah. And right now it's like Seattle and the Cowboys is like a teams that they're sharing a lot of personnel. It's funny
Yes,
that
they are.
a lot of
That's a
ex players
that's a
from
funny way to say it. That's a funny
yeah.
way to say it, but you're right.
And even I was reading the day that McCourty Jason was being courted by the Giants, and I thought it was interesting
Yes.
because it's like the judge is smart because those are one of his guys. Those are
Mm-hmm.
one of his guys that he coached with the Giants, and to bring him in to the Giants organization would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The Giants got a. I was thinking about the division as always, Dwayne. I like the moves they made.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
want to
know
see
if they have the
too.
quarterback. I'm gonna keep it real. I don't know if they have the quarterback where they want to spend that $35 million a year at. But
Mm-hmm.
the Giants moves have been very interesting.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to give them
I,
too much credit,
I would
but
have kept Tomlinson though.
yeah, me too. Me too.
So let me ask you, how you feel about Charlie Casserly saying Justin Fields is the 20th rated player?
The same way I feel about when Bill Polian said that Lamar Jackson should go to wide receiver. That's
What
it. Listen,
what
we plan to keep it real on this show. We got algorithms that we have to worry about. So I'm gonna be cautious when I say this, but Casserly and Poland
Bill Poland.
is from the same school of when they didn't want. I'm gonna be careful. I'm gonna be politically correct. There were certain individuals that they didn't think was smart enough, had the worth ethic, um, pocket presence to be the starting quarterback. So read between those lines, folks. Oh, athletic. Buzzword, athletic. You know? So it's like you sit here and you listen to these guys on TV, right? So you hear them now all of a sudden, Mac Jones is the smartest quarterback you've ever heard in your life. It doesn't matter that when you look at the 5 quarterbacks, he has the least amount of arm strength. You understand what I'm saying? But what they say is, oh, he's so smart. Oh, his progressions. Oh, he reads this. Oh, he reads that, right? Leatherwood. Last I'm sorry, just give me a second. Leatherwood, Jalen Waddle, Dickinson, the center, Najee Harris, the Heisman Trophy winner. Need I go on and on? This man got so much talent around him at Alabama. So you hear these guys and they say, well, maybe Trey Lance hasn't played enough games or started enough games. And he started 17. And then you hear them put all this praise on Mac Jones. And guess what? He started 17 games. You can't have
Yeah,
it both ways,
yeah.
you know? So I ask you, what's the difference in the 17 games? Now, if you want to say one was playing in the SEC, the other one was playing in the subdivision, okay. 17 games, 17 games, man. But when you look at them physically, okay, arm strength, Mac Jones does not compare to Trey Lance. Mac Jones does not compare to Justin Fields. And I'm not listening to the Orlovskis of the world that want to break down film and say, look at him read the first, second, third progressions. Like these guys don't know how to read.
I know that was funny about Orlovsky, and I have to single him out. Is I know that you don't see a lot of quarterbacks who are real good in the pros become quarterback gurus. I mean, the George Whitlock. Whitlock is considered a quarterback guru. The Palmer kid is considered a quarterback guru.
Now
Trent
you got
Dilfer.
Quincy Avery.
Yeah, Trent Dilfer, Avery. What I don't understand about Orlovsky is Orlovsky to me, he allows himself to get played by the 4 letter network
Hmm.
where he creates this narrative or he allows this narrative to be created where it always appears to me that it's along racial lines.
Yeah.
Um it's,
He keeps allowing himself to get boxed in that corner.
yeah, I find it I don't know why this comment come up, but I find I'll just let it go. But I find it to be uh, very interesting what goes on with him and his assessment of these quarterbacks. I mean, at the end of the day, like we discussed, if Shanahan wants Mac Jones, that's who he's going to get. We don't need people from the letter networks to try to figure it out, to squeeze him into his system. This is what
Hmm.
these guys do. Like, if the draft is not a complete science, it is what it is. Like, like we know that it's about fit. At the end of the day, it's about fit. You could have the greatest player in the world, and what happens is they get drafted or they sign a free agent contract and go to a team and it just don't be the right fit.
Right.
But it's just amazing how they'll create these narratives of why a guy should be higher than this guy or this guy should
Yeah.
be higher than that guy. I mean, honestly, Justin Fields the last year had a better year than Lawrence.
Let me explain something to you. I hope, and I got my own personal reasons for this, that I won't share until draft night. I hope the San Francisco 49ers select Mac Jones with the 3rd overall pick. It's going to make my draft night. It's going to make a couple of other people's draft nights too. I hope they pick him 3rd. If they pick him 3rd overall, it's going to make our draft night show so interesting.
But one thing about the 49ers, Dwayne, which I think it just shows the pressure of having to win is that the last time we saw the 49ers when they were healthy, it was the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think that they might be going a little like I know that they might feel like they have to get rid of Jimmy G now, but he got them to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, outside of the team we root for, the 49ers had the most injuries out of any
Yeah.
team. I mean, they got a team, they got a nucleus. Like, okay, you sure you want to draft a young quarterback
Yeah.
and put that pressure on him? Because at the end of the day,
It's
ain't
going
no
to be
young
interesting, though,
quarterback.
man.
Yeah.
Do you think what position on the field would you most? I want to make sure I ask this question right. We're talking about medicals today, most of the show, and prospect coming in with medical red flags. What if you had to rate the position as far as you not wanting to draft a player for that position because of a pre-draft medical? What position would that be?
It would for me, excuse me.
No, go ahead and
It,
adjust yourself, brother.
it would be linemen.
Me too.
Those would be the positions that would scare me the most. An offensive lineman who may have like a knee
Yeah.
or a shoulder issue, definitely a shoulder because that's their strength. Most of their stuff is their hands and their feet, and
If Caleb Farley was an offensive tackle, he definitely wouldn't be going in the first
yeah,
round right now.
yeah. I still think, and I know that I said I probably would with him because of the athletic standpoint. Only because I know how the Cowboys drafted. I said if I was the Cowboys GM, I would get Caleb Farley. I know that they kind of what they do with free agency and what they do outside of last year when they completely bombed free agency.
Right.
What the Cowboys do with free agency is they always protect themselves with their draft. They'll draft a player and then mirror the same player with the draft. I think whoever drafts Caleb Farley, I think that team will do the double dip just to be cautious because it's 12. I
Yeah.
mean, I thought it was 10 DBs, Dwayne. If anybody, and Dwayne loves defensive backs, but this year right here, Dwayne may have might be his defensive back heavy draft ever.
Yeah.
They always talk about the 96 receivers, how T.O., Keyshawn, Bruce, all of those guys came out. I
There's a
don't know.
deep draft for cornerback.
This this draft is deep,
Listen,
deep.
man, you could have 5 corners go in the first round. I know everybody
Yeah.
talking about the quarterbacks. You can have 5 corners. Not not a lot of people are listen, when you consider you can get by most draft experts, mocks and stuff that they put together, if you can get an Ashanti Samuel Jr. in the second round, first of all, I think he's a first round talent. I think the reason he's dropping into the second round is his size. And size is the same reason why I think Devontae Smith is going to fall in this draft because he's only 170 pounds, you know, and he don't have speed like Deshaun Jackson. Now, Deshaun Jackson probably played most of his pro career in the 150, 160 range. Don't go by what they put on that paper because they'd be lying. He probably paid in the like 150, 160 range. And but guess what? If you turn your light switch off, he probably was already in the bed already. That's how fast that joker is.
I tell you, the one thing I like about Ashanti Samuels Jr. is for him to be small, he gets his nose dirty.
He gets his nose dirty.
I mean, and if you know how they play the defense in Florida State, you out there by yourself.
You on our
Um,
island.
so I know that he's probably going to be that great career slot receiver, cornerback. But listen, for the teams that really need a good quality guy who you're not going to have to worry about, he might be the one. I mean, it's so
Takes
many
you
guys.
physically.
Yeah, so many guys,
He
man.
takes you
You got
physically.
you got Newsom,
You love Newsom,
Molden.
man. You mention him all the time too.
You
You love that guy. Listen, I love Fat Man. I love him from Kentucky. Calvin Joseph. I love him. The off the field is a concern, man. It is, but that is
but
that's a day one
let me
talent.
ask you, Wayne. Let me ask you. I know you as a Pop Warner coach.
Mhm.
I know you have always been told that you know how you get the parents that be like, "Oh, that's a bad kid,"
Yeah.
and it really isn't a bad kid. It
No.
maybe because of their situation at home, a person may be like it's a bad kid. I think it's kind of funny with Calvin Joseph is that you can go on YouTube and find his rap videos. I just think that if you understand the makeup of Kentucky, that this type of kid, even though he's from down that way, like he's such an outlier. Like I the issues don't scare me with him, Wayne.
I
I don't know
mean,
what it is.
listen, he could
I
ball.
think he could be special.
If he keeps his nose clean, and I'm not talking about drugs, I'm just saying staying out of trouble, he can be special.
So I'm gonna name a couple teams he could go to. What if he went to Pittsburgh?
That would be a smart Pittsburgh move, man. That's why Pittsburgh is the way that they are.
Tampa.
Another smart organization. You know, another smart organization. Listen,
What
man, the kid, the kid's a talent, but you're gonna have to hold your breath a little bit once he becomes. Um, no, understood, Dre. I get what you're saying. He's a major talent. You
I'm
know,
actually
one
the
of the
kid.
things that here's the real deal. Let's not sugarcoat it. One of the reasons teams have pause with this kid is he's known to be affiliated with one of the street gangs. And so that's where the fear comes into play. It's not a alcohol type situation. It's not really a drug type situation. It's him being involved, allegedly involved with a street
I'm.
gang.
I mean, actually, I have a comp, Dwayne. You know, I try not to be doing these comps, but is he Marcus Peters?
He's a combo. He's a mix between Marcus Peters and Pac-Man Jones. Is what
So
he
you got
is.
to you got to take a chance on him.
Somebody's gonna take a chance on him, and they're gonna look real smart for doing it because he's not gonna let them down, man. Like sometimes we gotta remember, man, that these kids, you know, they're 3 years removed from high school. That's the rule of the NFL. You got to be 3 years removed from high school to get drafted. So this is a kid that started out at LSU. Some things happened, and he left LSU and went to Kentucky. So the boy could ball. That's all I'm gonna say, man.
You know what's funny? A guy like that, we see it all the time. They slip in the draft, and then we start saying, "Who's gonna get him? Who's gonna get him?"
Who's gonna
And he
know?
winds up going to a winning, good organization. It happens
Yeah, and
every
then you
single time.
feel, and then you feel so great for those kids that fall in that category.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
but it's
yeah.
interesting.
I really think I got my eyes on him. He's gonna be one of the ones. Him, and my boy Bolton are gonna be
Yeah,
the two that I follow the most going forward, outside of the ones that get drafted by the team we like.
yeah. Like I got some kids that during this process I just fell in love with them. Jalen Twyman of Pittsburgh. It's a name that I've been saying a lot. I love Ambry Thomas, the corner from Michigan. Been saying his name a lot. We both are big Marvin Wilson fans. Florida State. I still don't see how this kid is being projected by most analysts to go in the third round. They're obviously not watching his tape. You know, the McNeil kid from Virginia, from North Carolina State. They're obviously not watching his tape. Okay, and Joseph from Kentucky. You put the tape on, and you're hard pressed to find a corner in this draft class that plays the position like this kid.
Yeah, and I must
And
I
that's
must say that,
including who I want the Cowboys to take, Patrick Surtain.
and one other player I got to put in that category, um, who really looks like a man amongst boys. If you look at their tape, look like the big eighth grader playing with a bunch of sixth grade kids. That's Xavier Collins, man.
Yeah, you know how I
I
feel about
mean,
that kid.
I mean, he just he just some players look like, okay, they're just the best player on the field, but then you got some players that not only look physically bigger, but
Mhm.
just don't look like they should be playing with the same uh, players that they're playing with, and Xavier Collins one of them. So I think it's going to be interesting. I'm having issues with my seat right now,
Yeah,
but
man. But I think it's the excitement of what's going on. But when you think about a Xavier Collins, man, I think about Steve Austin, and I'm not talking about Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm talking about Steve Austin, the $6 million man. What I think about when I see Xavier Collins come on, man, like he's a $6 million man, yo. Like it looked like they reconstructed him in a lab, man. This Xavier Collins, man. This guy can run with tight ends. He could run with backs out of the backfield, and bet your bottom dollar he could run with receivers too, man. Like he
it
different.
was it's funny because before the draft, it was Parsons. I mean, before all this stuff started going on, the preparation for the draft, it was Micah Parsons, it was JOK out of Notre Dame. Even I would say my boy Nick Bolton was getting some plug, but
Mhm.
everybody was always projecting Nick Bolton to be number two, and then Xavier Collins. On a peripheral, the draft charts, he just soared up. This like he legitimately could be Brian Urlacher.
He good. Now, a lot of people um were disappointed with his 40 times. But let me tell you something. When you play on the league that pays for play and you on defense, I don't see no 40-yard clocks anywhere.
You know what I compare him to, and I know that he might be better than, and I know I don't want to be on this New York Football Giant kick, but if you look at Blake Martinez, right?
Mm-hmm.
Blake Martinez don't appear to be that good of a player. You'll be like, who's this guy? He's not that fast. But when he had them big two horses up there this year, he all he did was make plays.
He's Hitchens.
And
He's
that's
Hitchens
what you
all
want
over.
out of your linebackers. If you got defensive tackles that know how to just clog up them guards and allow them linebackers to just run side to sideline and just make plays.
He's like an Anthony Hitchens, man.
Yeah.
It's what he's like. But it's fun, man. Like, it's almost our time, man. It's almost my Christmas, man. I'm excited. You know, call me Santa Claus because I'm making my list and I'm checking it twice. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm ready.
Give me
I'm ready.
give me one, Dwayne. Give me one draft bust.
Mac Jones. I don't think he's as good as they're all making him out to be. I think San Francisco, if they take Mac Jones, every year you hear draft stuff, and the name that comes up is Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker, and how that draft day trade netted the Cowboys basically part of the nucleus and core of that 3 Super Bowl winning team, right? I think for as much as they gave up to get the 3, if it doesn't work, the 49ers will go down and draft lower for all the wrong reasons.
It's funny that you said that because most people, even when they talk about, what's the teams that didn't pick up Deshaun and Pat Mahomes? Most people always talk about Chicago because Chicago drafted up to get Trubisky. They forget that the 49ers drafted Solomon.
Yes.
The 49ers also messed up by not getting one of those two quarterbacks. Um, I think that the Heisman Trophy winner is going to be the bust.
I worry about that size.
I think he's too. I think he's Tavon Austin. I mean,
you give that great comp. I was just about to
because
say that. You
when you
gave
think
that
about
great
those small, scat back receivers,
tough.
quick screen, get them in the open field, it's all good when you have that college hash marks and
Yeah.
no defense.
Yeah.
He he just reminds me so much of Tavon Austin. Tavon Austin, people don't realize he was the sixth pick in the draft.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and that was a draft that basically destroyed Jeff Fisher's career.
Yep.
Um, so I think the Heisman Trophy winner, I just don't see him translating. One thing about the having these receivers in the draft is you can get a good receiver in any round.
Yeah, receiver is one of those positions where you can get Michael Gallup, how he lasts as long as he did with the numbers he putting up now.
Yeah.
All right,
But,
Dre. Enjoy that.
that's about it I got today, Wayne.
Yeah,
Anything you
man.
want to
Hey,
close the
we
show with, brother?
listen. Look out. We bringing 3 groups together on the 29th of April. And we hope you join us and you enjoy. And most importantly, be a part of the show. Comment, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
be a,
Our
be
draft
a show.
our draft show gonna be interesting. I'm gonna have the lazy boy out here. But with that, remember everybody in the chat, like, share, and subscribe. We got
Yes.
an interesting draft show ahead in 2 weeks. Next Thursday, not the following Thursday on April 29th,
Mm-hmm.
where we got our guys from 4G
But we'll
Sports
be
is going to join us and Dream Network South Jersey recruiting that
right.
branch.
And we'll be back next week because one thing about the NFL, something going to happen during the week that needs to be discussed. And speaking of that, shout out to Aaron Donald and that situation, and that the man came back out and said, in fact, it wasn't Aaron Donald that obliterated him. Um, that brother I looked like I don't know. I didn't think your eye could ever look like that, man. You
That
know,
brother I looked like Mitch Green, man.
listen, the way that brother's eye looked, he probably don't know who it was that did him dirty like that. But you know, and let me say this real quick before I exit, okay? Because I had somebody ask me, well, it's weird. Why are these guys? Why would Justin Field? Why would Trey Lance? Why would they all do um additional pro days, like on 2 pro days? One, you had no scouting combine this year. And two, it's COVID. You can't come to the facilities. You can't have a workout with San Francisco and Santa Clara. Can't do it. That's why they having these second pro days. They're not having these second pro days because they did bad in their first one. It's not what it's about. These NFL teams, they're banking their livelihood on who they draft. So they want face to face. They want more meetings. They want to get people on the whiteboard and design plays on the board, put up defenses against the play, so the quarterback can say, if this is the look they give me, then I'm gonna go here. So don't fall for that. Oh my God, Justin Fields and Trey Lance had 2 pro days. Yeah, you're gonna see a lot more of that,
I'm just
especially over the next 2 weeks.
I'm just glad that me and Dwayne was able to get to this show without me bringing up Sheldon Richardson, one of my fat guys. With that, everybody in the chat, have a good, blessed week, and
You
we talk
had
to
to
y'all
do
next
it.